Hey, what's going on, Wealthy Legacy Journeyers? Welcome back to the Wealthy Legacy Journey. I'm your host, Kendell Leiden, and the title of today's episode is Where I'm At and Where I'm Going in My Personal Journey. And I want to kick it off with that because, every week I've been talking, at least for the past few weeks, the kind of the new theme has just been me talking about, what have I been learning? What have I been doing? What did I go through that week? As far as, learning experiences, what went right, what went wrong, all that kind of stuff. This last week, though, I was just struggling kind of mentally with where I'm at in this journey. It's just been a struggle of a journey. We've made lots of sacrifices. If you've been keeping up with the journey, highlight overview. We got out of debt. Went through some painful stuff. We ended up selling our house. We ended up downsizing our life, moving into a fifth wheel to get our finances really straight, in order, and right. We're now completely debt free, and we're working on. We've optimized our cash flow, and now we're working on building up our investments, our active investment income, as we call it here at the Wealthy Legacy Journey. We're trading not only our time for money in the form of a paycheck, but we're actually trading our time and money for money and creating returns on our capital and that kind of thing. So I was praying and I was asking God, I was like, I need breakthrough. I need to slow down. Like, we're just pushing way too hard on so many different fronts. And I felt like He showed me something really cool that's personally for me. I'm not saying this is exactly what everybody's journey is going to look like. But when I was praying about it, I just felt like I saw this. I kind of, I can't really say like a vision. It's not like I heard a word. It's just, I don't know how to describe it. It was just like this thought was just instantaneously in my head, and it just seemed to make a lot of sense. Um, and so the first 6 months was really all about, this kind of reset. So I've been working on, building up as an investor since 2019. We had a big reset about a year and a half ago. I guess that would be 2023. Would it be if it was, we'll see, we're middle of 2024. So a year ago it would have been, so basically it was like end of 2022, beginning of 2023, I guess, that we started the Wealthy Legacy Journey up, I think. I'm thinking about the right because it's mid 2024 and about a year and a half. Yeah, because we're about 70. That's crazy. And so, see, I thought I actually started this journey more of like, anyways, whatever it is, we're roughly a year and a half in. So the first 6 months was all about getting our head above water, getting things straightened out, getting our finances right. Libby and I are now for the first time ever on the same page about finances, about savings, about debt, and all that kind of stuff. The second 6 months was spent towards paying off debt. And budgeting together. Libby and I learning how to get on the same page with a healthy budget, right? For a long time, it was like she did the business, or I did the business budget, she did the home budget. But we didn't, neither one of us were really ever on the same page with what the other one was doing, and our financial life was just an absolute mess. So to get unified on the same page about our finances has been so important. It's been a journey, but that's when we got started. It was in the second 6 months. The third 6 months, I feel like, was all about optimizing cash flow, downsizing our life. That's when we moved into the fifth wheel. We own everything cash now. We have our expenses very dialed in. We've been doing our really strict budget for a long while now. And it just felt like this final 6 months, which the beginning of this 6 months starts in like 2 or 3 weeks, is going to be all about optimizing active investments and preparing for the job transition. So when I first started this reset journey, I got a job. It was the first time I had a job in, like, if I remember, I think it was 4 or 5 years, something like that, since I had actually had like any sort of part-time, full-time job where it was like, hey, if you work an hour, I'm going to guarantee pay you this, or like work per day or per year, whatever. And so I had this guaranteed pay, and at first it was like, oh man, this has felt like shackles. It was really actually helpful and fruitful having it for a while while we were figuring out our finances and getting on the same page, figuring out a healthy budget, how to budget, because as an entrepreneur, my income was always like I'd have a whole bunch of money and then we'd have like no income. And so we'd have to ration that money out. But whenever I finally had money again, it was like, oh man, finally, like I'm free again. I want to go spend. And then we'd start to starve and I'd have to go, kill something else. Like it was like a hunter, and you have to go kill something to eat something. And now the way that we're budgeting out our expenses is that we always have a surplus in everything that we're doing. Even though we've moved to like a very small lifestyle, eventually when we grow back into a bigger lifestyle, we always want to maintain a large surplus to have, greater than one churn to burn ratio. Some of these things that we've been talking about over the past few months. But I want to remind you, and I want to remind me that God is taking each of us through a special journey, a journey that He's handcrafted for me, and there's our journey that He's handcrafted for you. Step by step, He's built you up. He's equipping you to become the person that you needed to be in order to handle the responsibilities that he has for you just around the corner. I know it's true for me. I know it's true for you guys. So I just want to encourage you in that. So let's start off real estate. What's kind of some of the new stuff that's been going on that front this week? Finally finished the driveway for that Alvarado property, which is fantastic. So the replat's done, the rehab's done, the driveway's done. Everything is done on that one. I've got a couple little things. I've got literally landscape lights that have to go up next week, and then I'm going to go check on everything. And next week it gets listed. Oh my goodness. I acquired that one that was an interesting one. I was in an acquisitions role, as if anybody's been following the show for a while remembers, I was in the acquisitions role, transitioned over into the project management role. So this is actually one of the last deals that I acquired. It was one of the first deals that I did project management on. The reason that I managed rehab on this one specifically was because it's a plat. That's kind of one of my specialties inside of real estate is land development, minor land development. And so I took this one on because I was really the only one on the team who's really equipped to be able to handle all aspects of this deal. I think I think initially contracted this deal in like February of 2024, and it had just been dragging on since then. It's just been a deal. It's been hanging on for dear life inside of the Ambition Group portfolio. And I'm so excited to be able to move this one to the market, to be able to get it off the books, and for us to be able to make a profit on it. Began a new flip this week. I started getting bids happening this week for a house over in Grand Prairie. It's a half duplex. Should be a really easy deal to wrap up because the rehab that we're doing over in Fort Worth, which has been like a 6-week major rehab on an older house that had a bunch of DIY stuff and just needed a lot of love and attention to some things that were not done properly. That one's almost done. So we've been in that house for about 6 weeks, which is a pretty long rehab for us, even though it's a major full rehab on a house and a shop and everything. And so we're about to be moving on for that one into this duplex. And that should be a quicker, like I'm thinking 3-ish week job. So I haven't had everybody out there yet, but I've probably had half the bids that were done this week. I did my walkthrough this week. I've got to create a punch list. I'm going to be walking it with my crew this next week, and it's going to be great. In stock market stuff, let's talk about sniping and scalping that I did this week. I don't know if sniping, scalping, they're kind of the same thing. I'm not really sure what the difference is, to be honest with you guys. I just know what the concept is. But as you guys know, I've been following a lot of Donald Williams, aka D-Man, and what he does as far as VP range trading on that shorter time frame trading, and it's taking me some time to learn and become disciplined in that style of trading. But I finally closed my first green week, meaning I made money this week in sniping, which was so exciting. I made 39.4% on Wednesday. Now, this one was a big blow. On Thursday, I lost 62.4%. Ouch, right? I felt like I was on fire. I felt on top of the mountain after Wednesday. It was a really easy trend day. I made that profit in like, 45 minutes, an hour, walked away. I was like, awesome. This is great. And then on Friday, I came in, I ended up down about 30%. And then I was like, I just kind of stepped back. I reset. I thought about what was my training that I had learned this past week. I went back after it and I ended up grinding my way back to not only break even, but a 25.5% profit on Friday. So there's a 2.5% gain for the week, which you got to start somewhere, right? It's not huge, but I was really excited about that. So if you guys don't know, I'm trading $3,000 at a time. My goal is to make 33% per day to make $1,000 a day. And really, my goal is 30% a day, which would technically be like $900, but I really want to make like $1,000 a day. So give or take about $1,000 a day off of a $3,000 sniping money that I'm risking. And it's been really interesting because I saw how Friday I started making a lot of the same mistakes that I had made on Thursday. I took a second to step back, reassess my situation, clear my thoughts, clear the board, start over. And it really gave me a fresh start to be able to come back in. Now, you got to remember, if I'm 30%, I was a little over $1,000 down. So to be able to step back in from $1,000 down and say, you know what, how do I correct for today? Not only gave that number up to break even, but I actually ended up making like $780, something like that for the day. And it felt fantastic. And it was cool. I could have finished that day out, have had another hour left on the day, but I actually cut out early and took the family to a local state park. And we just enjoyed the fantastic weather that we have been having here in Texas because you know what? Life is not all about making money. There's also a portion about, life that we have that has to be about using the time that we get well and pouring into our family, loving our family, working on building that long-term legacy. I've got three little kiddos. What is my legacy going to be if I can't pass it on to them? If they remember dad was always busy, they're not going to want my legacy. So I got to pour into them and love them. VMAS4, we continue to have great base hits this week. We're very excited about the numbers that we're getting out of that, and do think that that's something that we're hoping to take live to the market in November. War Room, again, continued base hits there. We're very excited about the progress we're having. No real update for the Cashflow Academy. I guess one other thing that I'll say is I learned the power of patience of playing into these ranges and how to play these ranges inside of D-Man's VP range, which is volume profile range technique. It was so good. Really leveraged that. Was really patient into the zones. When I was impatient into those zones, it's when it bit me in the butt. But I actually a couple times I was a little bit impatient into those zones. I was able to dig my way back out of that hole, get out of the trade at break even, and then as it continued to fall into that range, I was able to then begin to take a profit. So it was really cool just to learn that, especially on Friday, to see myself, start to make some of the same mistakes that I had made on Thursday. But instead of continuing to fall, it was about the same point on Thursday where I kind of had this realization moment, like I'm down $1,000. I need to start doing some course correcting, and I continue to go downhill. So on Thursday night, I went back and I started, going over all of D-Man's tutorials and lessons that I could find on the internet. And I found one that really just stuck out to me. It was like, oh, I haven't been doing that thing specifically, or I haven't been doing that well. I haven't been disciplined and waiting for it to fall into the ranges to buy certain ranges. So then I started creating a system for myself of I'm going to buy 20% at the top of a range, 30% at the mid range, and 50% at the bottom of a range. And basically, that allows me to quickly lower my cost basis, but I still get exposure if it tests the top of a range and bounces off. But another thing is, if it like hits something that happened a lot on Friday, is it would hit the top of the range, bounce up just a little bit. I would take a quick 10% profit. If it did that like 2 or 3 times in a row, I would then go, okay, this is trying to break into this. After on the third bounce, I would actually lower my entry price to say, instead of buying 20% at the top, 30% in the middle, 50% at the bottom, I was starting to say, okay, I'm going to buy 30% in the middle, 20% between the mid range and the bottom of the range, or I might buy 20% in the middle, 30% between the mid and the bottom of the range, and then 50% at the bottom to really start to crunch my cost basis even further down. Because if it kept playing in that little channel right there, just bouncing off the top, I know this is going to eventually fail. And so that's what would happen. It would fall to the middle of the range. It would bounce off of it. If I took a quick, 10% profit, it looked like it was about to fall through again, I might try that trade one more time. If it, took another quick 10%, but didn't actually rip up and back out of the volume range, then I would again lower my entry because I'm going, okay, this is going to fail off of this price level. I drop everything down into that lower chunk of the VP range. I would take one more entry there. And there was 3 times in a row where I saw this powerful move where it came to the bottom of the VP range, finally got to the bottom of it, and then it took off back to the top of the VP range. One time it broke out of the VP range, and another time it just hit the top, and then it ended up failing back down to the bottom again, and then it jumped up. It went from the bottom to the top to the bottom to the middle, and then it fell back out. And I thought, wow, it was a great place to take advantage of profit taking. I took advantage of all that profit taking, which was so exciting. And that's where I started to see this huge comeback moment in my trading on Friday. And so I'm really excited to go into this next week. Pumped with what I learned from this last week on trading and excited to go into this next week. One other thing is that I got absolutely hammered on Thursday and Friday. Another thing that was crazy, and one of the reasons I think I was bleeding so bad on my trading was because of OPEX. It's the the expiration of monthly option contracts, which what the big dog uses to protect its insurance for their portfolios. As those option contracts begin to expire, they start rolling those contracts out, and it just does a lot of crazy things to the pricing in the market because the market's more focused on rolling contracts and buying insurance than it is about a growth mindset especially at the end of the third week of every month. So it's the third Friday of every month that OPEX happens, but that week can start to get choppy, doesn't really go anywhere. And so it was great to be able to, really come in on Friday. Having it was one of these things. Actually, no, it was Friday. One of the mentors, coaches that I have in trading, I was listening to him as I was trading, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it's something about it's been a crazy week. This week's been OPEX." And I was like, "Oh crap. Like last week, I told myself I'm not going to forget OPEX. I'm going to be aware of it because I'm going to know the choppiness in the market and know about it ahead of time. So this week, I actually put a calendar notification for next month. And so that way in November, I don't forget about OPEX. Some other stuff going on with Libby's art that I'm so excited about this week. Is going to be a big push week, and it was. And it wasn't as big of a push as we thought we were going to be because we started feeling some burnout. And we're like, okay, we got to find a balance here because we don't actually want to like completely crash on our family and our kids and everything like that. But we did get a huge amount of push done on Libby's artwork stuff. I'm super excited. We have an order going in later this week for all of her art stuff that we'll be working on some of the evenings. And then her fair is November 1st, and that's the last big art sale. We're hoping that she can get to break even by the end, by that fair, and then take the rest of 2024 off to work on not do any art, but to not have to worry about selling anything and slowly build up her inventory for the spring of 2025. And the goal from this point going forward is in the winter of 2020, the winter, I'm working on stuff for the spring. In the spring, working on stuff for summer. In the summer, working on stuff for fall. And that way you're always like 3 months ahead. Another one of our goals once we get to break even is finding somebody, probably on Fiverr or something like that, who can edit out the background of these photos for Libby instead of it having to be me or her spending hours and hours editing out these backgrounds. Can we be a blessing to somebody else and let somebody else bless us so Libby can just focus on doing what she does best with the art? And then, somebody else can get a little bit of a paycheck out of editing the background out of some of these photos too. So seeing, is there a way that, especially as her being a mom, stay at home, full-time mom of 3 kids, and, I've got my job and I'm trying to grow my investment stuff and all these kind of things as well. How can we be most efficient with our time, right? Nobody can create Libby's art the way that she's creating it in order to be able for her to be able to sell it, right? She has to do the part of creating the art, but editing out the background, that's not a high skill set thing that has to be done by Libby or by me in order to get, that picture ready for printing. The art is kind of the main important piece. Now, once we get it back, we will edit the colors and stuff like that ourselves, but can we get somebody to edit out the background color for us? That would be, or the background, so that we have a clear, no background ping image. I think that would be awesome. Other big life things learned, both Libby and I are feeling super close to burnout right now. And so we're trying to be aware of that, realizing that we really need to slow down after this fair and start to pump the brakes on life because, we kind of had the move. We were feeling super burnt out. After that, we were starting to, kind of feeling better. The pressure was coming off. We've been really pressurizing ourselves, trying to get everything ready for the last fair and this fair and all the other stuff that we're doing. And then everything I've been trying to push deeper into the stocks lately. And I've gotten busier at my job in some ways, working on a marketing project. And so there's just been several things on several fronts, especially even with kiddos and stuff like that, realizing, okay, we've gotten a little bit busy. We've got to really slow this thing down. And so being aware of where you're at is so important. Only fill that tank in your life up to 80% because then when life starts to get hot and pressurized, if it's like, think about like a propane tank, this is an illustration analogy that we've used before. If your life's a propane tank, you only want to fill it up to 80% because if the season starts to get hot, the gas in that side of that propane tank is going to expand. If you fill it up to 100%, the gas expands. What do you think's going to happen? Boom, right? Tank's going to explode. You don't want to explode. You don't want to burn out. So make sure you're staying at 80%. That doesn't mean strive. That doesn't mean don't reach for big things. It just means keep your life balanced. Make sure you don't have a bunch of excess weight inside of your life that's not actually helping you to get somewhere. And everything you're doing is purposeful and taking you in a powerful direction. Another big thing that I've been trying to apply is on days where I'm up in the stock market, I give myself the evening off. So on Wednesday, I got the evening off. On Friday, I got the evening off. And that's a little bit of a reward for me saying, hey, I obviously learned something. I applied it well. I made money. So I'm going to take the night off and enjoy myself. But on days where I'm down, such as Thursday, my rule for myself right now is I have to step back in the evening and go learn more because there's obviously something that I'm missing. Now, there are some other days where I still go study stuff in the stock market because there's a lot of stuff that I'm trying to learn. There's a couple different groups that I'm in, and I want to be able to continue expanding and growing at a pretty good pace because my 2-year mark of being in this job is at the end of May of 2025. So at this point, we're about 7 months out, and I'm trying to be aware of that runway of where I'm at in relation to that so I am prepared for that exit when the time comes, because that's been my big goal since the very beginning, and I don't want to miss that target. The last big thing is today is my birthday. So if you're listening to this on the day that this podcast comes out, it's my birthday. I don't talk about this all the time, but I'm sure people do wonder how old is this kid? And so I'm 26, and I'm sure that people are going to say all sorts of crazy stuff in the comments. Maybe, people comment on my life all the time, saying that I'm just a kid, I'm just a baby, I look so young. Da, da, da. That's why I actually grow the facial hair so I can help mature my face a little bit. But all the time, people are telling me that I'm young and that I can't, and I've been getting that for forever. Libby and I, my wife and I, we got together in high school at 16 years old, and it was from that point on I was being told that I'm too young for the goals that I was setting for myself, for getting married, for I wanted to be an entrepreneur, for trying to start a business, and all these kind of things. But I would say this: 1 Timothy 4:12, be an example in everything that you do in faith and purity and love, and the way that you live and the way that you interact with other people. I know I'm not saying that verse quite exactly perfect. I don't have it memorized as great as I have some other scriptures memorized at this point in time, but there was one that I used to lean on all the time. Be an example. Don't let anybody look down on you for your youth, but an example. Just live your life. Live your life as an example for the kingdom of God, basically. And so that's what I've been trying to do. And we've been growing, we've been succeeding. Praise the Lord. He's given us some absolutely huge breakthroughs, and I'm super grateful for that. I'm super grateful to God for 26 years on this earth. I started on my investing journey when I was, I think, well, it been November of 2019. So November of 2024, I'll be 26. So that'll be no, no, because it was, yeah, because there was then 2020, 2021, 22, 23, 24. Is that right? It must have been 2018. It was 2018 because I know that last year was my 5 year. Oh, wow, that's crazy. So it's 2018. And so if I'm 26 and 24, and it's been 6 years, that means that so I started when I was 20. So this November is going to be 6 years inside of my investing entrepreneurial journey. It's had lots of ebbs and flows and stuff like that. So grateful though for the opportunity of being able to learn from some amazing people over the last 6 years. On the real estate side, I've learned a lot from my friend Nathan Bowers. There's been a lot of other people that I've learned from on the real estate investing side as well. It hasn't been quite the same like mentoring and coaching that I wish I had now that I'm rolling into stocks. Like, man, I wish I would have done real estate differently, but it's okay. I'm on this path now. Learned some amazing things about marketing and creating a movement and creating an identity and all that kind of stuff from Russell Brunson and a lot of the awesome creators inside his space, Alex Hormozy, Myron Golden, another guy I stumbled on, Dan Martell. He's not really quite a part of that same space, but same mindset of entrepreneurs, and a bunch of other people that I've met. Super excited for the people that I'm getting to know and meeting inside of the stock space. Brian Bottarelli, Karim Rahatulam. You have Nate Bear, Donald Williams, and then thinking of like Andy Tanner over at the Cashflow Academy, Noah Davidson over at the Cashflow Academy, and all those guys. So I'm just super excited for the mentors that I've had in my life, where I've been able to get to in the last 6 years. Hitting that 4 year mark, pretty bumpy because, or I guess it would be like 4.5 year mark because I thought I was just pretty much done being an entrepreneur at that point. We've gone through a big transition over the last 2 years to just kind of rethink how are we approaching this journey, because obviously the way we were doing it before was not working. And I think we're on a much healthier path this time around. And I'm really hoping that, this time next year, I'm out of a job and we're having some big breakthroughs. We're in the 6 figure bracket, pushing to 7 figure bracket. We've got some deals that I think are right there on the edge of coming through that are going to push us into the 6 figures. Getting this thing to start working for us and the stocks is going to help push into that 6 figures. And then being able to use the skill sets that I'm building right now to be able to take those 6 figures to push into this 7 figure bracket and beyond. So with all that said, guys, let's say our identity mantra before we get out of here for today. I'll say it first. You guys say it after me. I explore the unknown. I conquer new frontiers. My journey is powerful, and my wake is a wealthy legacy. And remember, guys, the way we define wealth here at the Wealthy Legacy Journey is simply the ability to cover your monthly expenses without having to lift a finger. We call it passive investment income, specifically here at the Wealthy Legacy Journey, trading your money for money. It's a powerful transition when you can go from trading your time for money to then trading your time and money for money to then eventually being able to just trade your money for money. And the way we define legacy here at the Wealthy Legacy Journey is leaving a long-lasting impact on others who come after you as they receive the fruit of your labor, whether that fruit be good or bad. And one of the things that we remember here at the Wealthy Legacy Journey is the fruit that you produce is based on the trees that you cultivate, and the trees that you cultivate are only going to be there based on the seeds that you plant. So make sure you're planting the seeds today. They're going to produce the trees, which will produce the plants, the fruits that you hope to have in your life and leave as a legacy behind you after you're gone one day. With all that said, guys, please make sure if you enjoy this video, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, really helps the algorithm. And the link of the video, don't forget in the description, there's a link to two Google Docs. One is the Wealthy Legacy Journey resource page, the other one being the Wealth Health Checkup. With all that said, guys, this has been another episode dedicated to you and your own personal Wealthy Legacy journey. Now, go out there this week. For me, for my birthday, if I were to get one birthday present from you guys, I would say go out there and take the next right step. Make a big move in your life and start to win, start to succeed. And then let me know how what we're doing here at the Wealthy Legacy Journey is positively impacting your life. That would be the best birthday present that I could get. If I knew that the things that I'm doing here and we're doing here at the Wealthy Legacy Journey as we continue to grow this thing is impacting you in a personal, deep way, encouraging you, lifting you up, taking you to new heights, whatever it is, you would absolutely make my day. So with all that said, guys, it was awesome hanging out with you, and I will see y'all on the next episode. Bye, everybody.